Hey everybody, welcome back to part 2 of making a loading screen which you can play. Thanks for watching part 2, really appreciate it. I'm not really gonna bog you down with another intro, so let's just jump straight to the video. I think the cuts are too bad, right? I want a fade effect to happen when the player moves a level, because it just doesn't look good with all the cuts going on. So you want to go back to your first level, and what we want to do is we want to go back to our content folder, right click, and want to go to the user interface. And we want to add a widget blueprint. And I'm going to call this fades. If you really want to follow Unreal's naming standards, you would call it VPP underscore fades. And you can just open that up. And here we're gonna add a border, right? You want to scroll down to appearance on the right side. I'm gonna change the brush color to black. And we're gonna scale this up massively. You can actually scale it up if you want. But I'm just gonna, yeah. We're going all out of this. Now here at the bottom left, you'll see this animations tab, right? So you can just click plus animation. We'll make an animation called fade to black, right? And we'll click on that, and you'll see the timeline actually is not grayed out anymore. So what you want to do is you want to add a track of the border. Then you want to add a track of the render opacity. Because we're going to make a fade effect between the levels, and that's how we're going to do it. We're just going to make a black screen that we're going to fade over time with animation. So the fade to black, how I'm going to handle it is you want to go to the render opacity, set it to 0. And then I want to have a fade that lasts for a second. So here I'm just going to type it to 1. But I love to have a 0.5 second just blackness, no fading, no nothing. It's really a good way to hide stuff that you're doing in the background. So I'm just gonna hit this circle here, which adds a new key to the timeline of the render opacity. Awesome. Now you can just compile and save, and now we're also gonna add another animation, which is the fade from black. I just want to click on it, add a track again. It should be a border track. Add another track. It should be render opacity. And we're going to set the render opacity. Oh yeah, it should be on 1. Then it should be on 1 for another half a second. So you can just press the circle here to add another keyframe. And then at 1.5 seconds or 1.5 seconds, we want the render opacity to be 0. So you can see it kind of action if I hit space. Makes this nice fade, right? We're going to compile and save. Now we're going to go to our graph. Here at the top right, you'll see design. And we're going to go to the graph. And what we're going to do is we're going to make 2 events. One which will handle the fade in. And the one which will handle the fade out. So you want to go to, just right click in the event graph and add custom event, and we'll call this fade in. And you also want to right click again, custom event. We're gonna name this fade out. Just enter on that. Okay, that just have to clean up that name. It's a bit weird. Okay, yes, you can just do that. Now you can take your fade from black, and this fade out, you'll move it under the fade out, and then you will use get. And the fade to black, you will put that under the fade in. Yeah, and then you'll just clean up the code a bit. And this fade in, what we want to do is you want to drag off and play animation. You want the fade to black to be the animation, right? And you can also, while you're clicked on this, you can press Ctrl W to make a duplicate. Also a handy tip. just move this fade out down below. Add the execution pin, and that's the end animation. You can technically just reverse the fade to black animation, now that I think about it. I kind of messed up in that regard. Well, but we're just gonna ignore that, right? You can just compile and save. Now, we're gonna go to our level trigger. And this open level by object reference we're not gonna do yet. We want to do the fade in before that. So what you want to do is at the set, you want to create widget. And the class will be of VPP fades. You could also take the owning player and put it at the player controller. I'm not really going to do that. It's not necessary in this case. But if you're making a multiplayer game, you might want to do that. Let's create a VPP fades widget. We're going to take the return value and add to viewport. And then what we want to do is we want to take this return value and make a reroute node. And then we want to make another node at this add to viewport, right? And we want to take this node, we'll drag it up, and we want to search for fade in so we can play the animation. And you could just double click on this node line to make it prettier. And this fade in, we're gonna add a delay after this. Delay of the time of the animation. You could technically do this in the blueprint itself. This isn't the best way of handling it, but this is really easy to do. That's why I'm doing it. So it's open level by object reference. You can just connect that now. And yeah, you can just hit compile, save. So let's test the fade in. If we go here, hit play, you can see, yeah, it fades in. And then we're there, and boom, we move so quickly, and we gotta fix that. So we can add an artificial delay for testing purposes, which you can disable whenever you want, right? Okay, so let's handle the fade out and fade in again. So how we're gonna do that is we're gonna go to our levels. We're gonna go to, you can choose last level P or loading level. We just want to open the loading level blueprint. So we want to go to M loading level. Go there. And what we want to do is when our load stream level has finished, we want to do a fade out before we actually load it in, right? So let's do that quickly. It's completed. You want to do a fade. Oh yeah. You want to go and create widget. And of course the class will be VBP fade. The return value want to add to viewport. Actually, let's delete this because we actually want to add this at the beginning before all these stuff start. Because we're gonna do a fade out, fade in, and fade out again. And this will just be way easier to handle. So you just want to create widget. The class will be VBB fades. And then you want to take the return value, add it to the viewport, and hook it up. And there's the return value. We're just gonna hook it up to a reroute node, in which we're gonna play the fade out. And while we're playing the fade out, we want to add a delay of the animation, which is 1.5 seconds. And then we'll do the code of actually getting the level we want to load. So the fades has to finish before we even start loading the levels. So he had the load stream level by name. That's cool and everything. Now, when it's done, we want to do another fade. So this is why we actually made this earlier. So what we're gonna do is gonna move it a bit to the left, take this return value, promote it to a variable. Just want to connect that in the node graph. And the name, let's just name it fade widget. This just stops us from having to make a billion create the widgets. So when we're done with loading, we want to do a fade in. So we'll make a fade widget, get fade widget, and you want to fade in which a delay of 1.5 seconds has to follow. Perfect. And then we can cast to game, custom game instance, and actually get the transform before we actually do the fade from black. So let's try it. Here, we can try the code right now. Compile, save. Go to M last level P. Now we're gonna go to first level. And now if we run into the trigger, it's gonna play a fade in, then a fade out, and it's gonna fade in again, and it should just cut now. Actually, it's not cutting at all. That's interesting. This is very interesting. So let's just go to our loading level. Go to the blueprint. Just check what's going on here. We have the loading level. It's made visible after load. We do the fade in. We wait the delay out. We cast to custom game instance. I think it's because we didn't do a fade out, which is something we have to do. So let's take our fade widget. Get that. And then we want to fade out. Let's connect that up. And you just want to unload the level stream after we add. Funnily enough, we're gonna add, we're gonna do 1.5 actually. Let's compile, save. That should work this time if we actually go test the code out. Let's try it. That's gonna fade in. Gonna fade out. That's gonna fade back in. And it should fade out, yeah. And see, this is where the fun part comes in. The lighting is still a bit weird. Now, there's multiple ways to handle this, and the annoying way to handle this, right, is actually it's a really annoying way of handling it. We can go and at every P or every persistent level, we go add the fade into the begin play of the loading level. But that's gonna get very confusing very quickly. So I'm just gonna try one thing, and if that doesn't work, I'll show you the workaround for not having to do much effort. So we want to go to our loading level. We'll go to the blueprint, and this delay, we're gonna make it something like 0.5. Then we'll compile, save. Let's try that. Now if we go to our first level, hit play, then we'll go to the loading screen. It's gonna fade back, and then it's gonna, oh yeah, that's a clean fade. And it definitely unloaded the loading level. Everything looks really clear. That was actually a really nice fade. I was actually shocked about that. Yeah, well, that's all you have to do. Now this is the level loading set up. Everything's ready to go. So before I do a final go over everything you have to do and all that to really set this up for each level you want to do, I just want to think what I want to do. I want to do something. Oh yeah, I wanted to add an artificial delay. And this artificial delay will be for testing purposes. So this will actually be the thing that we can test how our loading screen actually works, even if we're loading a very small level that isn't too intensive to load. So you want to go to your M loading level or last level P. Anyway, you can enter the blueprint really. So here, this loading level, right? Just gonna go back to its blueprint, and what we want to do is before it even loads, the level. We're gonna check all this code here on the left before the load level streamer name. We're just gonna drag it out a bit. What we're gonna do is we're gonna hold left B click for a branch node. And we're just gonna drag that in. And the condition will actually go and create a new variable, which will be a boolean. And it will be add artificial loading delay. I can just drag that in, drag that in, awesome. And if we add an artificial loading delay, you want to go make a delay node. The delay will be 1.5 seconds. Not 1.2. You want to make this something pretty long, like 10 seconds. And the faults will be just loading the level. So if artificial loading delay is on, it will go and add a 10-second delay to the loading screen. So let's go check add artificial loading delay. Put that to true, compile, and save. Now we can just go to our first level, hit play, go to first person, and now we can just run around, right? This is the loading level, and it's actually loading in the background, of course, not now because of the artificial delay, but if you add a level, you can actually run around while it loads, and boom, now we're here. That's pretty cool. If you want, you can actually disable player input at the time the fades start, if you really want to do that. I actually did that in my cutscene tutorial for my flyby cutscene. So if you really want to do that, I'll also link that down below so you learn how to disable the player inputs, right? So before I go, I'm gonna actually explain all over again how you should do this. And we're gonna make a level, which we're gonna make loadable from this trigger. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna right click, create, we can go to file, new level, and we're gonna choose default level. And this is the level we want to load when we're done. So while we're here, you want to click on this player start, and you want to go to its transform and copy its location. That's really important. Then you want to save this. We'll call this additional load. Actually, just call it add load. Makes my life easier. So now that we have that as a load, we can just right click here and create a new level. And this will be add load _ p. You can just open that up, save the selected level. Now under this levels tab, we'll just go to the levels, add existing, we'll add the add load, and you want to control click on the loading level, so it adds both. Now you'll see the loading levels down below, and here's the top level. It's perfect. Now you want to go to the loading level, right click it, change streaming method to always loaded. Add load will be not always streamed. So then we want to go back to our first level. Save all this. And here at this trigger, what you want to do is you want to set the level to load to add load p. And the next player, next level player spawn, you want to paste the location. So if I hit play now, you'll see. Now we're going to go to a loading screen, which we have a delay on, so we can run around here for 10 seconds. Normally it will actually load the game while we're running here. Just super cool. Just, yeah, you can see with that load there. And boom, now we're here. So also, to make this even funner, you can actually hold Alt while dragging this one out. And we can actually go and set the level to any P we want, and you can go and you can add a new transform. You can spawn the player at weird places if they go through certain other triggers. It's a nice feature, and this is why I created it this way. Yeah, that's about it for this tutorial actually. We made the entire basic system fade in, fade out. You can play while you're loading level. That's extremely cool. So, yeah. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you liked the content, please subscribe. Hit like if you liked the video. Hit dislike if you didn't. And still, before I go, I would like to thank UNF Games again for this entire loading system concept. He did a video on it, and that video really put me in the right place to actually release this video. So I'll, again, link his channel down below. And, you can go check it out. And also check out the video where I learned this. But anyway, good night, everybody.